Hi guys, James here, thanks for coming to watch, and today we are going to be talking about the great little Fender Princeton, which is one of the favourite amps of all time. But I've had quite a few questions from people asking how good is it with pedals, and just as a caveat to that, you know, what is the breakup sound of the amp itself? So today I'm going to show you that. But first of all, I want to show you a little, let's say, planning error I made when I put my lights up in this studio. Just a sort of cautionary tale for everyone. So I'm just going to take you over there and show you what I mean. See, up here I've got my studio equipment, and then as a sort of aesthetic thing, I put these lights, which my wife and I had bought years ago. These actually came from the Concord hanger. They got like a big stamp on the back of them, it's pretty cool. Anyway, that's not the issue. The issue is when I pick up a guitar, I inevitably have ended up hitting this so many times already. Probably won't see it now, but there's a nice big ding on the top of that gold top, and on the top of this R9, and on the top of one of these Paul Reed Smiths. So anyway, when you're planning your guitar hanging, be careful. But here's the amp in question today. Let me get set up and I'll take you through the quickest review of the amp itself, and then we will look at all the pedals, which got quite a nice selection of pedals today. I'll be back in a sec. Alright guys, as I said, I'm going to just take you through a very brief sort of overview of the amp. So I've set it, as you can see, on volume 4, which is nice and clean. I'm going to show you first of all the reverb and the tremolo, really important parts of this amp. Of course, proper tube driven everything. I was going to give you the whole spiel about this amp, but safe to say Fender have put everything and the kitchen sink into it. This is the hand-wired custom 64 version of the Princeton. Beautiful 10-inch Jensen speaker. We've got sort of vintage blue cap filters or whatever it is. I could give you all that, but you know, all those sort of specs are out there on the internet. This is more about how the amp feels. Picking up the plectrum. Very nice. You can go super deep with that tremolo, or you can go super fast. So you know, lovely atmospheric. I think what a lot of people worry about is how small, you know, an amp like this is, and can it really give out that sort of ambient thing? It can. It's obviously not going to be as big as a bigger amp. That much is obvious, but it is big enough, and certainly in a studio setting, when it's recorded, hopefully you'll hear, it really can do the business. So turn off the vibrato. Let's check out this reverb. Let's not have the reverb on 10 like I did a moment ago, because normally I keep it around 3. And if you want it to be quite ambient, you'd go up there. But really, 3 is enough. That's my new favourite riff. It's one of those basic blues riffs that I'd never got round to just figuring out. It sounds silly, I know. I was having a learning day yesterday. Lovely. Okay, let's keep the reverb there. We won't use the vibrato from now on. And I want to show you how this amp sort of breaks up volume-wise. So on my amp, it doesn't really start till 2.5. I mean, as I said, it's hand-wired, so these things... But it doesn't come to life until you go sort of past 3. But it can be a little bit brittle at the sort of lower volume range. It's not really the best guitar to show any weakness in the amp, because the guitar, these pickups are fantastic. On the Strat, on the P90 Les Paul, on the Telecaster, most of the volume levels below sort of 5 or 6 on here don't have any compression, and they sound quite spiky. So that's just something to be aware of. But when you're using like really good humbuckers like this, it just compresses nicely anyway. But otherwise, what I like to do, roll this up to about 7.5, where it would start to break up naturally, and then ride the volume on the guitar. Really got a lovely breakup sound. And I think for the completionists out there, well, not completionists, I'm not going to get everything out. Let me just plug in the Strat for 20 seconds, just so you can hear. Okay, so it can have that sort of slight edginess to the sound there, and it feels more brittle. Maybe it doesn't sound it so much. And then we go up here. There you go, it does break up nicely. But for the rest of this review, we'll mainly stay around 4 or 5. And I'll get the Paul Reed Smith back out. I was enjoying that. This is tuned down a whole step still from my last video about Jimi Hendrix. All right, where should we start? I think you can see the board here. Let me just tell you what everything is. Myriad Myriad Fuzz is the wildest pedal I've ever used. Dan Drive Austin Pride, best fuzz I've ever used personally. DOD Looking Glass, fantastic transparent overdrive. The BB Preamp, really beautiful, sweet preamp pedal. The Duellist, how shall I use these today? Let's go string singer side, drive down, volume up. And let's go blue side, which is like, let's say, like similar to the heavy hand side of the Duellist, like a blues breaker sort of thing. We've got the Ryra Klon, fantastic. I keep meaning to put the Mythos Mjolnir back on the board for a while just to see what the difference is, but I don't want to take this Ryra off the board. Maybe I'll do a video about that. Then we've got the Jam Pedals Harmonious Monk Tremolo and the Strymon Volante. Now, I think we should start with the Strymon Volante because I think people get worried that a small amp like this can't cope with those modulation effects. Very nice. Yeah, it's true that sometimes it feels with a very small amp that you're sort of crowding it, let's say, with the small speaker. But hopefully it's going to come through on the recording. I know it did when I tried to record this video the other day. I was comparing it to, I don't know if you can see the Vibrolux down here, but the Vibrolux tube, one of the tubes went midway through, and so I scrapped that video. And then I've sort of moved the microphones around a bit on here just by walking past them a few times. Who knows? Let's hope it sounds good. Okay. Let's go for my new pedal, the Protein. I've been really enjoying this thing. I'm planning on doing a review. I'm intrigued to see if we completely drop the gain. How does that work? Does it still work? Oh yeah. Got to say, I don't want to give too much away, but the Protein is very good. Okay, let's go from the Myriad Fuzz upwards then. I've set this as low as I can. You can hear that amp going wild. That pedal, I don't know what they put in there. It's like the steroids for your guitar. It's crazy, but that'd be great for a gig. Okay, we got the Austin Pride. So I have this set completely different. expensive pedal. If you can get hold of one, I know they're expensive. The waiting list is long now. I've heard someone tell me 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. So there's plenty of time to save up. You will not regret it. I don't think you're ever going to find one second hand, because who would let go of it? Okay, Looking Glass pedal. Remind you without the pedal. It's just really layering up similar tones. It's so transparent, the DOD. If I was to have the amp turned down, let's see what the difference is. Let's add in the Austin Pride. And then I'll often add in the BB on top. Great stuff. The BB preamp by itself, if we turn right down, let's see if I turn up the amp quite a bit and ride the volume and use the pedals. Let's see what that's like. Let's keep going. We've got the tube screamer. Let's see before I clip the mic. That tube screamer side of that pedal does a really good job. It's better than the Ibanez tube screamer that I've got. So that's the main reason I'd keep the Duellist on the board. I'm not sure what you'll have got through the mics there. Yeah, maybe we're going to break the microphones today. That's pretty epic. Right, turn that back down a bit. Another question about the Princeton, is it good for bedroom use? Yes and no. Frankly, I would get an amp with master volume rather than an amp you think is small enough to use in your bedroom, but it isn't, because you have to push this thing a little bit. And to be honest, it's one of those amps a bit like the Serra Ombre, where a lot of the volume comes early on and then you're really just compressing as you go. So it's a loud amp. Well, that's my view on that. Okay, where were we? We did the BB, we've gone back to the Protein, so let's skip that and go to the Ryra. turning the bass down a bit, I forgot to show you the tone. The tone controls are really fantastic on here. They seem to be part of the sort of gain structure of the amp, so if you push them quite a lot, you will break up the amp more, which I really like. Just want to get it a bit more crystally. So with a Strat, you can get a really spanky, clean sound. Just pull that treble back a little bit. Right, let's try the Harmonious Monk, and then we'll sort of build up a tone as we go along. Right, it's set quite slow. Just increase the speed of the Harmonious Monk. There we go. I think you can see it works pretty well. I think people can get a little bit disappointed if they've played big amps, you know, the 2x12s like the 2-Rock 4x12s, you know, 4x10s, and 1x12s feel quite different from 1x10. There is a smaller sort of spectrum. I mean, volume-wise and breakup-wise, you can get a good level of breakup from this amp, as I showed you. But I can see why these have been really used for recording, and of course you can play them in a band setting. And I always get comments from people saying, what do you mean you can't use your Princeton in a band setting? Because I've said that before, and you know, your drummer's playing too loud if you can't use the Princeton. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not true. It really depends on your style of music, you know. If you're playing heavy metal, you've probably looked in the wrong direction and bought a Princeton. The amp will do pretty much what you want it to do in this lower mid-range, and it will work well with pedals. I do find the pedals sound a little bit more alike each other when I use them through the Princeton than they do through the big amp like the 2x12. But I also find that using a 1x12 on my Tone King, they sound a bit more similar to each other than they do when I use pedals on the 2 Rocks. You know, I really feel like I get the best out of the pedals. But you know, we're looking at really fantastic amp like the Princeton and then crazy amp like the Two Rock. So, you know, things like that are bound to sort of happen. But my view is it's not right for everyone, the Princeton. If you're a home bedroom player, get something with master volume. You'll have more flexibility. But yeah, I really enjoy the Princeton and I would use it for recording. I think it always sounds sweet when I've recorded it and I listen back. So I wouldn't take it as my main band amp though, with such a big pedal board as well. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this and you've got something out of it. And you've heard all these pedals, which you might own some of these or whatever. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time. Cheers.